Good evening, everybody. Um, we'll, we'll get started with the meeting. I apologize, we had some technical difficulties. We're trying to get the sound linked to our presentation, but we'll carry on. We'll go ahead and change the agenda a bit, and as soon as we get some technical assistance, we'll have a short presentation on Look North. Thank you very much. My name is Rajinder Theti. I'm the president of the Chamber of Commerce for Thompson, and I'd like to welcome everybody here to our function tonight. This is Small Business Week, and a lot of us are in business here, and I'd like us to recognize ourselves as being economic drivers of our beautiful town, Thompson. Having said that, I'm going to introduce the guests tonight. We have with us a few ministers and some other distinguished guests, and I'll start with the Honorable Blaine Peterson, Minister of Growth, Enterprise and Trade. The Honorable Eileen Clark, Minister of Indigenous and Northern Relations. The Honorable Jeff Wharton, Minister of Municipal Relations. Our own MLA, Kelly Bindle. Representing the city, we have the Deputy Mayor, Kathy Valentino, and we also have some council members, if they could stand up and be recognized, please. Okay. And I'd like my board members to stand up and be recognized as well, please. And lastly, we have a special delegation from parts of Canada, Edmonton, Quebec, I believe, and also the States. And these are the participants of the Wolf Conference that we've had these past 2 days. And I'd like you guys to stand up so we can recognize you as well, please. In mid-April, we had Chief Christian Sinclair and Chuck Davidson from the Manitoba Chamber of Commerce, who are the co-chairs of Look North. We had them in Thompson, and they conducted a focus group, and they've been touring extensively all around Manitoba, gathering views of the Northerners and trying to reconcile those views with the people in the South to come up with a strategy for the North. And the strategy is Look North. And at this time, I'd like to invite Chuck and Chief Sinclair to come and give us some remarks about the Look North. And you know what they've been doing over the course of these past few months, and what product they're going to show us.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you very much. Also want to just recognize as well the MLA for the PAW, Amanda Laughlin, is here today as well. Amanda, if you want to take So my name is Chuck Davidson. I'm the president and CEO of the Manitoba Chambers of Commerce, and I was one of the co-chairs on the Look North process. I'm amazed at the size of the crowd that we have for this, and the fact that we know that the Look North plan went live on the website at 6:30, and still people drove from the PAW just for this announcement tonight. Big the PAW crowd in the back corner there, which is awesome. But again, in my mind, that speaks to what we expected of this. And the meetings that we held and what the work that we've been doing the past 10 months, we got a great sense as to how engaged Northerners are and how much a part of the process in finding solutions to the challenges that we have that Northerners want to be a part of this. And which is why I'm so impressed with everyone that's here tonight and to share with you kind of what we've done. I also want to take this opportunity to thank some people from the beginning. Oswald Saw, Community Economic Development Fund, were the funders for this initiative that we undertook. So Oswald and his team, a big thank you for the work that you've done. Janice Schott as well from the province of Manitoba. As we were flying up here today, I was kind of looking through my phone, and I said, you know, typically when you go through your phone, you look through your contacts, and it goes, you know, who are your favorites? Who do you contact the most? There was Janice Schott and my wife. So, which leads you to believe how much she's been engaged with this Look North process and continually having those dialogues with us and making sure that we're on top of this and having a good sense as to where we're going. So what we want to do tonight is give you a snippet in terms of what we've discovered throughout this process. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the action plans. And it's critical for us as well, and for Christian and I, this is the starting point. This is not the end point by any means. There is no silver bullet in terms of addressing some of the challenges in northern Manitoba. This is the start of the next phase. And we're so glad there's so many people here that have been a part of the process to date and will continue to be part of this process as we continue to move forward. This is a living, working document that really is going to report on what we heard and where we're at now. So talk a little bit about the process that we went through. And many of you were a part of that. I know we have a PowerPoint here somewhere. But this was an extensive process, and also a big thank you to Carl Wixon, who was the lead sort of author on this project as well in terms of taking us through this, and many of you that would have went to the sessions would have been aware of that process as well. You can skip through to a couple pages here. But this was really an extensive process in terms of looking at the past reports, looking at what's been done on the North, and I'm sure many of you in this room are well aware of the various reports that have been done on northern Manitoba that are somewhere sitting on shelves in government offices that have never been implemented. And that's why it's important for us that this process is one that is a living document, and it's a working document. It's not one that has an end date. It's one that we need to continually be focused on and continue to be able to push forward so that we gain those insights and explore new ideas to give a real understanding of what those needs are and how we can address those challenges together. This report and action plan is a result of hundreds of contributions through conversations and summits. Many of you will know we did the summits in April, traveling in northern Manitoba in April. Christian and I, you know, if we had to do this again, maybe we do this in summer. But I think it was really a good experience talking to people, getting an understanding of what some of the challenges are in the North, but more importantly, what some of the solutions are. And Northerners provided those with us. And I think that was important. So as we've done engagement for the past 10 months to get to the point where we're at, we're going to continue that engagement, as this is a working plan, and those partnerships that we need really need to turn into action. So it's not a report that sits on a shelf. This is a living, working document. And I'm going to pass it over to my co-chair, Christian, who will go through some of the 6 key areas that we've identified that we need to move forward on, and some of the recommendations that we're making as a task force.
Thank you, Chuck. Tanse. Bonjour. Heglanate. Oniganu Christian Sinclair na snigasan. Opaska Nation Otse. Nemanani Tene Mama Piakuta. Nesatuayasa Kaskik. Treaty 5. In my language of the Swampy Cree, I've introduced myself as Oniganu, which is the one who leads in Swampy Cree for the Opaskwayak Cree Nation. And as a co-chair of Chuck's, I've also acknowledged our visitors from the U.S. and Quebec, recognizing the fact that I actually worked with the Crees in Northern Quebec with Plan de Nord, which is almost similar to what Manitoba is going through on this exercise with the Look North exercise, but also acknowledging the traditional landholders of this territory, which is Nissetuasha Cree Nation, which is their original homeland in Treaty 5. So we always acknowledge that from our First Nation protocol and perspective. And of course, I want to thank the provincial government for putting their faith and trust in us and being able to take this opportunity, feeling very honored and humbled to lead such an important strategy for all of northern Manitobans as we move forward on this initiative. Before I carry on, though, I have to apologize a little bit in advance because I have a bit of a cold, and the doctor told me to double up on my iron intake, so if this presentation comes off as a little rusty, that's why. Boo. Tough crowd, tough crowd. Okay, so we're going to get right into it. And as Chuck said, and I echo those sentiments as well in regards to the opportunity that's being provided to us, but making sure that when we were approached by the provincial government, that this wasn't going to be something that collected dust, a nice glossy picture, and that it sat on somebody's desk or on somebody's shelf. This is really, as Chuck said, the foundation of something starting that will provide leadership from all of you, from all of your communities and your entities to do the heavy lifting. So there will be committees that will be established for these 6 pillars as we move forward. So we're counting on each and every one of you who committed your time and helped us build what we have today. This is not the province's plan. This is not Chuck or I's plan. This is your plan as Northern Manitobans. So with that, the things that matter most as we compiled information and narrowed it down to the top 6 pillars. Northern mineral and other resource potential. As you all know, mineral development in Northern Manitoba has been a cornerstone of our industry. And with that becomes an opportunity for Manitoba to create the climate that will make the opportunity work, not only for industry itself, but how do you engage the original landholders that these resources sit on. So when we went through this, the First Nations and the Métis made it very clear that Section 35 of the Constitution has to be applied here so that they are meaningfully consulted and accommodated in any and all developments within these traditional territories as they relate to mining, forestry, hydro developments, etc. So reducing barriers to growth in this area is a priority. Working within Northern Quebec with Plan du Nord, we saw what that can do, and it does wonders for the economy and for the provincial and national government for that matter, and industry. So it creates a win-win-win situation. The other part I just touched on, the Indigenous engagement and partnership. What I didn't realize is I just moved back to Manitoba just over a year ago and became the Oneganu for the Opaskwayak Cree Nation. And in the research that we conducted on this file, I was surprised to learn that 75% of Northern Manitoba's population is Indigenous, First Nation and Métis. So we need to reflect that in our governance structures and how we engage them in the economy and in all aspects of our society as we move forward. Because the fact of the matter is, those are the most vulnerable and on the fringes of poverty are the largest population of our demographic in Northern Manitoba. So what we have to do is identify the models that will demonstrate the opportunity to make sure everyone benefits from this process going forward. We had a meeting today, and I got to sit in with Thompson on the 2020 plan. And I acknowledge the City of Thompson for taking a proactive measure, because in the case of the PAW, when Tolko experienced its challenge of shutting down very quickly, it brought together the Arm of Kelsey, the towns of PAW, Opaskwayak Cree Nation, and the Swampy Cree. So it was a regional approach to providing a solution that where everybody had to give and take to make it a win-win-win situation for everybody. And I think that's something that could be shared from their experience, and seeing Thompson being ahead of the game, that it's proactive. Strategic infrastructure investment, all-weather roads, rail, air, and broadband. These are all aspects of infrastructure that will help build a stronger economic climate for Northern Manitoba as we move forward. We saw and are seeing what's happening with the case of the rail line right now, how we have to bring people together, and with the approach on that particular initiative, it's brought everybody together from the First Nations, the townships, the PAW, Flin Flon, Thompson, Snow Lake, Churchill, and even the Kivalliq region. Because it's not only a Northern Manitoba issue, it's a Northern Canadian issue. And when we talk about the opportunities of investing in that going forward, this is going to be a team effort by everybody involved. Housing challenges and opportunities. This was something that was surprising for me to learn. In the case of Churchill, Housing Manitoba owns all those houses up there, so they're very restricted in what they can and can't do, where there's opportunity for them to build a small business or business within their homes. So what that's going to require is bringing strategies together that will educate the province on how to create policy that will make it easier for people to develop businesses within their homes or houses that belong within the Manitoba Housing Initiatives. So developing and establishing a Northern Manitoba housing network to explore issues and find solutions that meet the needs of Northern Manitoba, whether it's in the townships or in the Aboriginal communities. Enterprise ecosystem of support. Building an enterprise ecosystem of support is needed to provide a clear pathway for enterprise growth and connection to the right support at the right time. We know there's fragments of supports out there. how do we bring them all together and create a network that will work in collaboration, work smoothly and efficiently for maximum benefit through these, the utilization of these particular resources. I know that with Oswald's group there, CEDF, they've been very effective and instrumental, and as I said earlier, and Chuck said, with us leading this process, really they're the workers behind the scenes that made our job easy and making sure we got to communities where we needed to be, meeting with the right people and getting people out to come and provide this information for us to develop this product today. On the education, training, and workforce development side, if you look just around this room or any of your workplaces, the demographic shift is happening amongst us as well with the baby boomers retiring out of the workforce. Everybody talks about the Aboriginal community being that solution, but in reality, unless they're trained and educated to fill those jobs, it doesn't mean anything because you're missing the most fundamental area of opportunity, which is educating our people to fill those gaps. And that applies to anybody and everybody in northern Manitoba. As the economy evolves, technology evolves, we need to be on the leading edge of these educational opportunities and developments as they happen. So those are the 6 pillars that we've come across. And what we are going to be stressing as part of this rollout here is that we'll be looking for leaders to step up to the plate to lead each of those 6 pillars as we move forward. There will be the opportunity, once we roll this out, for the province to now provide the resourcing from a financial perspective, technical and human resource to ensure that the success of this project happens the way we need it to happen going forward. So with that, I thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Christian. So Christian mentioned in regards to some of the next steps, we've outlined some of the next steps you're going to see here. Key elements for us in terms of this moving forward on the 6 areas that we've talked about: the establishment of a governance and a supporting structure as well as a steering committee to coordinate the implementation and the execution of this plan. We need to continue that conversation through further engagement, taking a deeper look into the identified areas of focus. That's going to be the need for the development of joint action groups in each of the 6 areas where key stakeholders will be tasked with identifying what are some of those real challenges, and let's dig deeper in terms of how we address some of those issues, whether it's policy issues, whether it's legislative, whether it's simple changes, whether it's a structure that needs to be addressed, whether it's funding. We need to have a better understanding of what some of those challenges in those areas are looking at. As well, we just need to get moving. We don't want to keep having discussions. We need to start looking at what are some of those solutions that we can address in these areas so we can get moving on this. Part of this as well that we've identified is the need for a communication strategy and a northern brand. How do we build pride and movement in what's happening in northern Manitoba? It's not all doom and gloom. There are great things that are happening in this part of the province that we don't talk about enough. And what we're suggesting as well, that needs to be part of this as well, to rally the troops, to find those leaders, to find those champions for the north. And finally, and it's not on here, we need to set targets. We need to have a reporting mechanism to determine whether or not we have success. It's not good enough for us just to have this report. We should be reporting back on an annual basis. Are we making significant measurements, and are we moving forward in these areas? It needs to be critical as a role for that governance structure and that steering committee that we're making the suggestion that need to happen, so that we can report back on an annual basis. Are we heading in the right direction? If we need to make adjustments on this living document, we can make those adjustments, with Northerners being a big part of that process. So that is what we've got, and at this point in time, we would like to invite the Minister of Growth, Enterprise and Trade to accept the report from the Look North Group.
I have a feeling this is a picture moment. Stay there. There we go. Oh, we don't want that. Second, not suffer. Oh, I think we got one more coming.
these over to you, Dwayne. And I'm going to keep this here. Give me a moment to get set up. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chief Sinclair, Chuck Davidson, for this. I'm a southern farm boy. I farmed about an hour southwest of Winnipeg, but I've been very fortunate in the past year and a half to travel to many communities throughout the north. And it has just been an absolutely wonderful experience. And I know Kelly Bindle and we went to Lynn Lake in August for the Tom Cochrane Life as a Highway sign. We stopped and made a number of stops here in Thompson, and just everywhere I go in your communities, it's just the friendliness and the companionship is just overwhelming. And so thank you very much for your welcome. And we had some great meetings here today again in Thompson. So I will begin by just saying good evening and thank you to the task force co-chairs, Oniganao, did I pronounce it correctly, Chief Sinclair? Oniganao Sinclair and Chuck Davidson for your work on this. Special thank you to the Thompson Chamber of Commerce President, Raj, for inviting us here to be part of the Northern Business Week. I'd like to acknowledge that the First Nation peoples of Treaty 5 on whose ancestral lands we are gathered, and to the people of the Métis Nation on whose homeland we meet. And I think they were introduced again, but I'll just introduce them again. Indigenous and Northern Relations Minister Eileen Clark, Municipal Relations Minister Jeff Wharton, and of course Kelly Bindle, your local MLA. We have a great team to work with, and I should include Amanda Laughlin on here, MLA for the PAW. It is, this report is what we will be using to go forward, and this is going to be a huge help to us. So we are very pleased to receive this report and action plan from the Look North Task Force. A lot of work has gone into it, and I would like to acknowledge the leadership of the task force, including all the committee members, in preparing this document based on the conversations that they had with people who live and work in the north. As one of our government's first priorities, we committed to helping unlock the tremendous economic potential this region holds. From the start, we recognized that people of the north best understand their own needs. After a thorough engagement process highlighted by the 3 economic summits in OCN, Thompson, and Churchill, this report is based on what was heard and discovered here in the north. The task force has been clear that this report needs to be a living, working document that will not collect dust on a shelf and reflect what makes northern Manitoba unique. Look North represents the beginning of a northern-inspired movement for change. During this process, we heard of many challenges, but also many great opportunities to grow and diversify. And we heard about the opportunities for economic development in our Indigenous communities. We heard about the opportunities to grow resource-based industries, the opportunities for industry-fit education and training, and opportunities for enterprise development and building a culture of commerce and entrepreneurship. One thing we've heard loud and clear is that there is no silver bullet. There is no simple solution. This is a long-term process, and the steps we are taking now are just the starting point. We heard many diverse perspectives, but some things were heard more often and matter the most to many Northerners. As Chuck noted in the report identifies 6 key areas that require a deeper level of engagement and collaboration to address them. One of these is for greater Indigenous engagement and partnership. Our government is firmly committed to advancing reconciliation and fostering mutually respectful relationships with Indigenous peoples. And thanks to the hard work and leadership of Minister Clark and her department, we are focused on doing just that to enable the economic growth and prosperity we know is possible.
While a lot of good groundwork has been done in preparing the report, the real work still needs to begin. Look North has identified specific areas to focus on and the shared goals we need to pursue. For example, the report notes that mineral potential is perhaps still the single most likely source of long-term prosperity in the North. Over the summer, we launched the Mineral Development Protocol with the appointment of Chief Ron Evans and Jim Downey to lead a process with First Nations communities to establish a clear pathway forward on mineral development. In addition, tourism growth continues to be a priority, and the Look North report reflects this. A parallel process has been undertaken to develop a northern tourism strategy, which will be released in the weeks ahead. And as you may know, a recent memorandum of understanding between Travel Manitoba and the Aboriginal Tourism Association of Canada will help to advance Indigenous tourism development in the province. There are also some internal pieces we are working on to improve service delivery. Work is underway to align departments and provide more effective support that is focused on innovation and improving economic development outcomes. An interdepartmental working group has been established to provide a single window into government for communities and enterprise. We look forward to further collaboration on how we can better work together to foster the enterprise ecosystem the report references. As a result of the task force work, effective August 2017, Manitoba Housing has formalized a procedure that enables home-based businesses to operate. This is especially important for communities such as Churchill, where Manitoba Housing owns approximately 80% of all housing. And I should note, I was just at a conference last week, and a fellow invented a process for desalination of water, and he built a prototype in his apartment, and he promptly got kicked out of his apartment for developing that. But that's how businesses begin, and we've started that process with Manitoba Housing. Furthermore, in response to the task force request for better and accessible data, the Northern Region Economic Profile has been updated and sub-regional economic data reports developed to assist communities with economic development planning. These are now available online. I've shared a few examples of what has already taken place, but most importantly, we look forward to further addressing the challenges and opportunities the report identifies. The ultimate goal of Look North is to initiate a generational change and transform the future of the region. However, this is not just about government. Look North is so much more than that. We know government is an important partner in the process, but in order to build a bright northern future, we need communities, organizations, small businesses, industry leaders, and government all pulling in the same direction. And I'm delighted to note that the co-chairs have committed to continuing their leadership role with a steering committee that will lead the next phase of engagement and implementation. Subcommittees, or joint action groups, for each of the 6 priority areas will be established to further develop key actions and identify lead entities. This is just the beginning of our long-term focus on the North. I have asked the department to convene a roundtable with Northern Economic Development Service providers to find opportunities to work together more effectively and to explore enterprise support options and to develop a coordinated pathway for enterprise development. My colleagues and I will work with partners through the proposed Northern Housing Network to have a deeper conversation with all jurisdictions about housing challenges, asset building, regulatory environment, and the impacts of housing on the economy. We are also committed to supporting the task force priority to develop a Northern brand to build pride and an economic movement to promote the Northern identity that will position the North as a region ready for investment. We know that changing course is not easy. It's about designing a new future and pursuing it with vigor. To change the trajectory from one of decline to one of vibrant, dynamic, and prosperous communities requires hard work and dedication. Luckily, in the North, there are strong Indigenous and community leaders to lead that change. In closing, I again express our sincere appreciation for all the work and commitment that has gone into the development of this report and action plan, the task force for its insight, and all Northerners for participating in this process. There is much work to do, and together we look forward to building a strong, sustainable future for Northern Manitoba. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the Minister and also the co-chairs giving a wonderful presentation. As you know, we are, the City of Thompson's going to go through a downsizing process of the workforce of our biggest employer. And like Chuck had mentioned, everything is not doom and gloom. We have a lot, and we just have to realize that we need to look within our resources and develop what we haven't developed. So that was quite inspiring, and I am very, very glad that you know, we in the North are being taken a bit more seriously with this new government. Thank you. I do know that you have to leave. So we'll take a short break. The entourage from Winnipeg has to catch a plane back, so we'll say our byes to the ministers and the entourage that has come with them, and then we'll carry on with the rest of the meeting after that. Okay, so we'll take a few minutes break. Okay, so we have two more presentations. Our first presentation is going to be by Laura Findlay, and Laura is going to present the draft Thompson tourism strategy. The Chamber of Commerce we had engaged North Central Development to develop a plan for us, and this was late last year. So Laura was the consultant, and she's carried the plan through, and she's come up with a draft strategy. Laura's had numerous meetings with our officials here and business people, also owners of hotels and restaurants. So she's surveyed a wide variety of individuals and got back a lot of feedback. So I'm going to ask Laura to come up here and present what she heard from our city and the draft plan. Please, Laura.
Thank you, Raj. I'm just going to take a second here to set up my stuff and put my glasses on. This is new for me. Must be an age thing or something. So yeah, thank you very much. I'm really pleased to be here today. I can't see doom and gloom in Thompson right now. This has been a very exciting couple of days for me since I've been in Thompson. I spent the last few days at the Wolf and Carnivore Conference happening over at River Lodge Place. And you know, we had today like 25% of the provincial cabinet here in Thompson. And we've got guests from all corners. We even had a speaker at the conference all the way from Russia in our community. And I have friends in the back from the Pas, Opaskwayak, and Rocky Lake. It's just such a great time to be here right now. So when you know, Thompson and Northern Manitoba, it's going through sometimes a rough time right now, but you have to look at a lot of these positives, and today definitely is one of those positives, and it's very exciting to be here, so I'm glad to be part of this today. Now, before I begin, I just want to put into context the significance for timing of the tourism plan. There's all kinds of plans out there, and I know that Chuck Davidson mentioned those plans that they never get to implementation and they just end up dust on the shelf. And I've seen a lot of tourism plans in my tenure in tourism. And I know you probably think, you're so young, Laura, how could you possibly have known about plans that happened so many years ago? But Volker Beckman, I think he's got plans dating from the 80s that he still carries around in his briefcase. And you know, no, there's no spoiler alert here, but the plan that I want to talk to you about tonight is not going to be talking about a lot of earth-shattering or shocking things. It's actually a lot of things that we've been talking about for many years. And those plans that we've seen in the past, it's not that didn't really go into implementation. It's not because they're bad plans. They're great ideas, but it's timing is not right. And right now, in northern Manitoba, in Thompson, timing is right. You know that the saying, you got to have your ducks in a row or the stars have to align? Well, right now I see stars aligning. And so I just wanted to put a few things into context, because sometimes when you hear someone standing up and talking about another plan, it's like, oh, just another plan. So, pardon me. So I wanted to put a few things into context in that respect. We are in a very good position right now to be proceeding with the new plan to enhance the tourism sector. So I'll get Tammy to go on to my first slide. Okay, let's go big picture here. Let's talk about provincially. Thanks. Right. Was that wine in there? Okay. Thanks very much, Harold. So we're in a very good position right now to move forward in enhancing the tourism sector. Provincially, the province has announced a sustainable funding investment model called Plan 96-4. And I think some of you have already heard about this before, but if you haven't, what this basically is they are dedicating, the province is dedicating 4% of tourism tax revenues into tourism, so investing back into tourism through Travel Manitoba. So that's a significant investment of dollars into tourism, into our province. And I've never seen that type of investment before. And I know that some of you who are involved in the tourism industry would agree with me that they're finally putting money into a very important industry that we've always heard about how great and how important the tourism industry is, but there's never been any resources to back that up. And now there is with Plan 96-4 and what Travel Manitoba has been doing. So this is the first star that we see aligned that I'm talking about when the stars are aligned, or the first duck that we see flying in the air. Sustainable funding is key to ensuring that Manitoba can be competitive in the expanding global tourism market. And I think with Plan 96-4, we're on the right path. Regionally, we now have, and Minister Pedersen already mentioned it, that there's a new strategic plan for northern Manitoba. Going back just very briefly, I don't want to go into too much history about Tourism North and what's happening in the region, but last year the region came together because Tourism North, who is our regional tourism association, felt that they didn't have the capacity to assist the tourism industry in northern Manitoba that they wanted to. And they along with Travel Manitoba, met in Flin Flon, had a summit, and decided that we need to come up with a better plan, a better strategy to assist the tourism industry and to market northern Manitoba tourism and develop tourism products in northern Manitoba. And how we're going to do it is we're going to come up with a new strategy. So over the last year, and there's actually many people in this room who have been involved in that strategy, and we've come up with a really good plan that's really good for northern Manitoba. It's backed up with really good resources. And I can't say too much about it because that's not my platform today, but in a few weeks we're going to be hearing more about it from Travel Manitoba. But what I can tell you, because it is public information, is Travel Manitoba is going to be working with northern Manitoba in a context that we've never seen before. We're actually going to be having a Travel Manitoba staff person living and working in northern Manitoba. And this is not just someone that they're going to helicopter fly and plop down into northern Manitoba and say, hey, you know, let's work with these people now. A Travel Manitoba staff person from the north will be working with an advisory committee chaired by Joanna McLaughlin. She's in the back there. Hi, Joanna. From the PAW, from Rocky Lake to be more specific. And behind them is a team of over 30 people from Travel Manitoba who have the expertise in product development, marketing, social media. So the second star that's really aligning is having that context, or sorry, having that expertise to work with, to market and develop tourism in northern Manitoba by working hand in hand with Travel Manitoba and the Northern Manitoba Strategic Plan, which you'll hear more about in the weeks to come. So yeah, second star, second duck in a row. But I also wanted to mention to you too that some of you might know the CEO for Travel Manitoba right now. His name is Colin Ferguson, and he is a huge fan of Northern Manitoba, and this is really good for us. If you do get a chance to meet him, ask him about fishing, and his eyes light up. So it's really good to have people working in the industry who see Northern Manitoba as a huge asset in the province. So now Regional Tourism Association has a new governance and operation model that's going to work well for us. All right. So I'm going to put up some more stats, because everyone loves stats. You guys want to hear about stats tonight. Tourism is a very valuable industry in northern Manitoba. And every couple years, Travel Manitoba puts together some information just to drive down how important of an industry this is regionally and provincially. Tourism ranks third in terms of overall revenues and visitations at $116 million for visits. And it ranks first in per capita revenues, and that's almost twice as much as the next region. Tourism generates $28 million in taxes in the north, and it's a leader in the Manitoba economy and the fourth fastest growing economy in the world. So with these and you can go on to the next slide, Tammy, because it summarizes what I've said, but just shows it in context of where we are with the other regions in Manitoba. So we're not doom and gloom. We're doing very well. And we have a long way to go, but we can do it. So where do we fit in? I've talked about the province and I've talked about the region, but what about Thompson? Where do we fit in? Tourism depends on the support of the community to be successful. From the local residents who volunteer their time, to businesses that collaborate on development issues. It takes everyone to stand together to promote the region's and the city's finest assets and to show our northern hospitality. So in the next few slides, I just wanted to put into context how the strategic priorities for the northern, I'm gonna get my plans, there's so many plans going on, I'm getting mixed up here, how we came up with the strategic priorities for the Thompson Tourism Plan. So this is the mission that we worked with. And we met with several different groups at several different times, and we wanted to make sure that we're all talking about the same thing for the same reasons. So the mission that we have is to increase the level of services and attractions to make Thompson and the region a destination of choice by planning and implementing tourism, attractions, and activities that lead to a positive economic and social impact. And what is a tourist? I mean, a lot of people have different ideas of what a tourist can be. So when we start going and talking to different groups and different individuals about tourism, what do you think about tourism? You have to make sure that you're talking about the same thing, because you might have a different idea of what a tourist can be. What we are using as a definition of tourist is someone who is making a visit to outside their main destination, someone who is making a visit to a main destination outside his or her environment for less than a year for any purpose, including holidays, leisure, recreation, businesses, health, education, and other purposes. Okay. So who are Thompson's tourists? One of the first tasks that we did was we looked at a market, we came up with a market profile looking to see who is coming to Thompson and why. Currently, we have tourists coming here for services. Thompson it's the hub of the North. It provides services in education, health, government services, you name it. So people are coming here within roughly a 200-kilometer radius because they need to participate in some type of service, medical appointments, etc. We also have people who are coming here for business, meetings, conventions. And then we have the leisure traffic. Golfing, cross-country skiing, downhill skiing, participating in a hockey tournament or a swimming competition. I got to throw the swimming in there. It's a very important sport. Those individuals are coming here because Thompson has established itself into a major service center. It is truly the hub of the North, and we have the infrastructure to provide these services so they can come here and they can do these things. So they are our current tourism markets. We also have, on the other hand, potential tourism markets, and those are the cultural explorers and the authentic experiencers. That is, they're new words that we're starting to hear more of, and these type of travelers are the ones that are looking for different type of tourism experiences. They enjoy nature, culture. They want to hear about the history and heritage of your area. And they're going to be coming from Winnipeg and anywhere from the United States, Asia, the United Kingdom. And we have the potential to grab that market. Now, I'm not saying that we don't have visitors coming from those areas. We actually have some at the table right now coming from those areas. But we have the potential to definitely to grow those sectors and grow those markets, because we have what they're looking for. We just need to package it and develop those products. With Thompson being such a remarkably strong service center, the hub of the North, we have very different tourism. These are very different tourist types, but what they have in common, sorry, excuse me. I'm a bit nervous, can you tell? Very different tourism types, but they do have something in common. And what they have in common is we need to provide them safe and efficient means of travel into the community. And we have to have the infrastructure to support what they need. We need to develop our attractions and better promote what we have here. So how are we going to do this? And this is where I'm going to start getting into the plan. We wanted to make this a very holistic approach, so we didn't just look at marketing and we didn't just look at developing new attractions. So what we've done is we had 5 pillars that we looked at when it came to tourism. We looked at our attractions. What are attractions? What are our assets? What do we have right now that's wonderful? And what are some things that are concerning right now? Promotions. How are we promoting our community? Where's our shortfalls in promotions? Infrastructure. That's a big one. We have great infrastructure. We're very lucky. We have wonderful highways coming into our city. We have airlines. We have train. We have bus. But there are still some shortfalls with infrastructure. So identifying what still needs to be done for infrastructure, and then same with the services and our hospitality. What are we doing really well? That was identified. and what we're not really doing really well, and that was also identified. So from those questions that we asked, we were able to come up with 7 strategic priorities based on the information we extracted from those 5 pillars. All right, strategy number 1. Leadership. A new organization and governance will be required to achieve success of a long-term business plan. This is where I need to put on my glasses. Successful implementation of the Thompson Tourism Action Plan will require strong leadership, the Chamber of Commerce, the City of Thompson, and the tourism industry, the community at large. Organized and dedicated leadership will play a critical role in the plan, as it'll not only provide the mechanism to implementation, and again, implementation is key, but will be the catalyst to monitoring and reporting of the plan. The key results: is an independent, non-for-profit tourism organization. And when I say independent, it's its own entity. When I was doing some of my research, Google's the best. I'm finding out who has tourism plans that are active right now, and I was contacting communities, and it was very interesting what I found out. The communities that had a tourism plan that was handed over to municipal government were usually the ones that were not very active, and it was not because the municipal government wasn't capable of doing it. They don't have the capacity to do it. Quite often, the plan was given to a recreation department. In one case, it was given to an engineering department. And with everything that they have going on, tourism gets pushed back, and they needed the attention. The ones that were very successful were ones that had a completely independent body, industry-led, and in our case, very important to have the Indigenous representation. It's very important in our community to be coming together at the table and driving this plan. A full-time tourism coordinator would be hired, and a tourism office is established. Those are three key results that will make a plan successful. You have to have leadership. You have to have somebody who is available to do the job, the resources, and a place for them to do their job properly. Strategic priority number 2, funding model. And I think I mentioned it before. In order for any plan to be sustainable, you have to have some type of investment from the community. A funding source from unified partners to provide a long-term, a 3 to 5 year budget for both operations and capital investment. The plan is going to require a sustainable source of funding. A functional funding model with identified partners on board will provide a clear path to deliver the goals and objectives of the plan. Many destination marketing organizations, it's a model that is very, very much used in many communities now. In my research, they partner with the hospitality industry because they can usually provide the means for tax dollars from a hotel or a tourist tax. Key results for this priority would be partnerships between the stakeholders, and that they can work collaboratively to provide available resources, and a sustainable budget established with a 3 to 5 year window. Strategic priority number 3, marketing and communications. An integrated and collaborative approach to marketing through place branding and communicating a positive identity is established. Place branding, that word's been used tonight. I don't know if you've noticed, but Minister Pedersen mentioned it when he talked about branding of northern Manitoba. So an integrated approach to marketing and communication involves the establishment of clear communication objectives and understanding target audiences, strategic messaging, and a way to measure the results. Target markets may have been identified, but they need to be examined to determine the most effective marketing plan for that tourism type, because they differ immensely. There's a very different way that we would be marketing to individuals coming from within the region to come to a hockey game than we would be marketing for individuals who are coming to Churchill and we want them to stop off in Thompson to see Spirit Way or the Boreal Discovery Center. Both important, but very different ways of marketing. So their key results under marketing and communication is a unified brand for Thompson, and it will be aligned with the Travel Manitoba Strategic Tourism Plan, Northern Manitoba Tourism Plan. Marketing and promotional program developed for the community use. Streamlined promotional material and communication plan. One social media plan for the community. And a positive media campaign. Strategic priority number 4 is infrastructure development. Critical areas need to be strategically identified that speak directly to addressing the shortfalls in the overall tourism experience. Many communities have an extensive list of infrastructure development improvements throughout the entire community. Thompson is no different. In the initial assessment of Thompson's assets, it was clear that the community has many natural and cultural-based experiences and a distinctive landscape just within minutes outside the city limits. There's opportunities here for clusters of experience and products that can be further developed and enhanced to strengthen each other's attractions or assets for optimum visitor experience. Now, I used a lot of words in there, but I guess what I'm trying to say with this one is developing certain corridors, areas that we could be working on and concentrating on. And it's like if I live in Winnipeg now, and if I have someone coming to visit me, I'm going to take them directly to the Forks, Corydon Avenue, Assiniboine Park, because those areas have been strategically worked on by the City of Winnipeg, and they have been developed, and they look wonderful, and there's products there, the attractions are there. And there's places in Winnipeg I wouldn't be taking them through. Every city is like that. So we need to identify those areas, the welcoming areas coming into the community from the highways, the airport, the train station, and coming into the downtown core. Key results is, like I just mentioned, those corridors are defined. A wayfinding plan is in place with the unique look that fits with the Thompson brand. Wayfinding is kind of a buzzword. That's basically signs to say where to go once you're here. Partnerships are created and enhanced to assist with the broader picture tourism infrastructure improvements. And all visitors have a safe and efficient way or access into Thompson. Going down the line here, number 5. Tourism product development. The tourism experience for each visitor type must be matched with the needs of that tourism market. To achieve this, business development tools need to be made available to businesses and organizations to create market-ready products and packages. Thompson's a regional center for services and in the heart of an abundance of natural and cultural opportunities. With such diversity, tourism products in Thompson will take many shapes. Products can be events, attractions, or activities. And while they're very different, the one thing that they do have in common that they need to be successful is that they must be market ready. And in other words, market ready is a way of saying that you need to be ready to receive tourists and have them enjoy the experiences that they're expecting. Key results. Thompson has a list of products and an identified plan to create or to achieve market readiness. Tourism business development resources are available to achieve market readiness. Tourism businesses and organizations have the knowledge that they can partner and package with other products in the communities and region, and new product opportunities are identified. Strategic priority number 6. 2 to go. Hospitality training and recognition. Providing the local tourism industry access to high-quality employee training education and recognizing outstanding individuals and businesses that take Northern hospitality seriously. And there's so many of you that I know who are the best ambassadors for Northern Manitoba for your community, and they're here in this room. That's so important. In the tourism and hospitality industry, the success or failure of a business or tourism experience depends on the service. Okay, that's not a shocker. I think we all know that. A focus on creating a welcoming experience for all tourist types is critical to the market sector. And it's no secret that hospitality training provides employees with valuable knowledge, but they need to perform their duties proficiently. Here's what I found very interesting. You know, the benefits of employee training extend to everyone in the community, and they have a profound effect on visitors. It's also been proven that when someone has training in their job to do it better, it increases staff morale and job satisfaction, and which in turn increases employee retention. And that's very important for Thompson. So the key results for strategic priority number 6 is an inventory of training needs so we can ascertain what the demand is for the community. Quality training opportunities that are readily available and easy accessible through the established through accredited organizations, and outstanding efforts are publicly recognized. Best practices, we need to hear about them. Last but not least, community pride and beautification. We need to provide a plan to support the current beautification initiatives and build on new programs to highlight the beauty of the community and region, to enhance the visitor experience and instill community pride. A clear path to improve aesthetics for the community is an essential component in many tourism development plans. A visually appealing community increases property values, attracts businesses, improves the neighborhood's image. Beauty is one of the most influential factors in community attachment, which means loyalty to one's own city. Now, I lived up north for many years, and when you live in a community, it's very easy to, you can't see the, what does that say? You can't see the forest because of the trees. When I come back to Thompson now, and I noticed this last time I came back, because I drove from Winnipeg, and the community, it was a few weeks ago when the trees were turning that gold, the tamaracks. It was absolutely beautiful. And I came into the community, and there was no garbage. It was absolutely beautiful. And it's funny because a lot of times we focus on the negatives. But I was coming to Thompson with visitor glasses on, and you have a beautiful community, you have so much going for you. And I just wanted to mention that because we forget these things sometimes. I got a little off topic there because I had to give in that little thing, because I was so proud of Thompson that day I drove in. It was just a few weeks ago. So our key results is a beautification subcommittee manages alternative year-round beautification projects. Streetscaping plans are designed and developed in specific areas. There's an increase in safe and comfortable community public spaces, and a Take Pride Thompson campaign is initiated. So timing is right. I think we are at a time in Thompson right now where there's so many different stars aligned, and we've come up with a plan that works with a regional tourism plan. And I know that Harold Smith is going to be talking a little bit more about Thompson 2020, but there's a lot of very good initiatives happening in Thompson right now. And I think that this plan timing is right. So on behalf of the Board of Directors and my colleagues at North Central Development, I'd just like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to work on this tourism action plan. Thompson you guys are not that tough northern mining town. You're a tenacious, vibrant city. You could look at this as a very tough time in Thompson right now. There's a lot of change. And I just admire the Thompson Chamber of Commerce to look at this, and rather than looking at this as the doom and gloom, is looking at change as opportunity. So I wish you all the best, and thank you.
Thank you, Laura. That was quite inspiring. And yeah, we do have a vibrant community here. And I just wanted to mention that another star is aligning itself. I'd like to recognize the efforts of our board member, Keith McDonald, who's been an advocate to get the hospitality tax to the Hotel Owners Association, and he's worked tirelessly with this association. Okay, so we do have one last presentation, and it's going to be Harold Smith presenting on Thompson 2020. I'd like to recognize Tim Gibson as well, who's a co-chair or co-project manager of Thompson 2020. And Harold and Tim have been working tirelessly to ensure that we are ready for the workforce adjustment and trying to minimize the impact on our city. So Harold, I'll give you the floor.
Thanks for the introduction, Raj. I appreciate that. If by working tirelessly, I hope you don't mean that we're never tired, because we're working hard, but it certainly is an ongoing project, and it's one that's keeping us very busy. I'm thrilled to get an opportunity to present at the same event as Look North and the Tourism Action Plan. Raj, I think it's probably safe to say that this is not at all like the Oscars, where the biggest presentation is saved for the very end. If that's what you were thinking, I think you're going to be very sadly disappointed, because it's just me up here. I will say thank you to the organizers of Northern Business Week and for coordinating this so closely to the Thompson Community Foundation dinner, which was last Saturday, because my blazer was hanging on the back of my closet door still from Saturday, and I didn't have to go looking in the hall closet for it. So it's not very often I get a chance to wear the blazer. Now, I know some folks saw this presentation at the session this afternoon. I know what you're thinking, oh, I got to sit through this again. But I'm going to try to go through a little bit slower this time. We were trying to make some room for time in that presentation for the actual workshop, so I kind of went through the presentation like I had a bus to catch this afternoon, and so people didn't get a chance to hear that all. So Kathy, people got that joke, eh, about a bus to catch? Okay. See, I used to say, I've gotten, I think, better. I used to say I went through the presentation like my hair was on fire, but everybody just looks at me when I say that one now. So I've taken that one out of the repertoire. I guess I should get into the presentation and go to the next slide. A key place to start is why Thompson 2020? And I think that it's a core message for us. Our view is that Thompson is and always has been a community of opportunity. For me, for many of you and thousands of others, Thompson has been a great place to live, place to work or learn, play, raise a family, retire, or invest, among other things. Our mission is to ensure that Thompson remains that community of opportunity. How do we fulfill that mission? We all know the upcoming planned events that we're going to be facing. The timeline around those upcoming changes demand a level of urgency and a strong focus on results. I could tell you that our steering committee is not at all interested in hearing about process. I got some pretty strong feedback on that this week. What they want to hear is our progress on results. We are committed to using project management tools to stay on track and measure our progress. Part of that is, in order for us to measure results, we need to be transparent and clear in setting goals, so there's a strong focus on data. Just a sample of the sources of data that we're using right now include the recent survey of local employers. We currently have 40 responses to date. We don't think that's good enough. We're shooting for 60, and we want to actually beat 100 on that. And I understand that Tim Gibson, in a presentation earlier this week, was in discussion with the Chamber of Commerce, and they've agreed to support that and try to get us over that 100 number, because it's key for us to hear from local employers what their challenges are, what their opportunities are. The link to the survey is here, but it's kind of a messy link, so come and see us afterwards if you want to see that, and we can give you that information. Some other sources of data as a data-driven project include the Regional Economic Development Profile, Regional Economic Profile from Growth, Enterprise, and Trade. I don't know if many of you met Ruth Mealy, who was here for that session this afternoon. She presented her findings, and we had a really good discussion about ways to go forward. Valet also ran a retiree survey that we are going to be re-releasing as a community-wide survey to get more information from our residents about what what's on the horizon for them and how this program can meet their needs. So that's a brief overview of how we work. Project management philosophy, strong on data. But now I'd like to take you through the overall structure of the plan. We're guided by a steering committee with representation from Valet, the City of Thompson, the Province of Manitoba, and the Government of Canada. Our project teams includes Keisha Davis. And Keisha, can you stand up so that everybody can see you and say hello? You got to stand up for longer than that. Come on now. Tim Gibson is a project manager with our team, and myself also as a project manager. By far our largest and most pressing project activity is on Project 1, which is workforce utilization, where we're building a system to identify employment opportunities and match those with people in the region looking to work. And importantly, we need to match them with the training to get them into those jobs successfully. I got a little bit more on that a little bit later on. Project 2 is retention and attraction of residents, and Project 3 is business redevelopment. We found in the session that we ran today with Growth, Enterprise, and Trade that there's a strong connection between all three of these. We divide up the work into projects because it's important to sort of break it down into manageable pieces. But the connections across these are important. We had people from Project 2 attending the business development event today, and they saw those connections to attracting and retaining residents and back and forth. As I said earlier, we need to reach out to the community members and form partnerships, and we need people to help with the work of advancing these projects. Here are just a few of the members on various teams. This is not a comprehensive list or a comprehensive slide of all the folks who are involved. These are some people that we decided we wanted to show that we are building team, and so we wanted to bring this information. As Thompsonites, I think a number of you will recognize some of the people who have stepped forward as residents to be a part of this process. Now, I'm going to go back to the biggest project, which is workforce utilization. Again, we want to build an enduring system for proactively identifying job opportunities, that's the skills hub, 1C on the right, job seekers, that's career pathways on the left, and providing the training for them to be successful in those jobs. That's the Northern Workforce Development Center. Each one of those has specific, targeted, desired results that we're going to measure ourselves on, and they're listed there. If successful, we think that these three elements will be a machine that will be enduring and ongoing as a way to match the needs of job seekers through the upcoming transition that we're facing and well into the future. Briefly, I'll go, as I mentioned, that is the biggest part of Project 2020, but the Project 2 and 3 are also very important. Project 2, sorry, I'll get you to go to the next slide. Thanks. Project 2 is retain and attract residents, and this was another one that we got from Ruth from Growth Enterprise and Trade. She said, economic development, business development goes hand in hand with community development, making the community a good place to live, looking at amenities, looking at attractions, looking at quality of life. Project 2 is retain and attract residents, and it's all about increasing the livability of the community for people who are considering their options at whatever stage they're at in their lives and their careers. The two areas of focus for Thompson 2020 are the development of housing outside the city, and by housing outside the city, I'm talking about lifestyle housing. So we got this back in the Valet Retiree Survey very strongly. Cabins on lakefront, large lot development, and hobby farms. So we've got a very specific desired outcome that we've put down for that. And the second one is the second desired outcome is improving the amenities for retirees and/or seniors. This crosses a number of different areas of responsibility, whether it's the private sector, the city, looking at programming, looking at infrastructure, and services under health services as well. Those are all things that we got back loud and clear that are key to people deciding whether they stay or whether they move on. Ruth also pointed out that those amenities are really key to any community sustainability, is making sure that you focus on those amenities. Now, Project 3, business redevelopment, really we've just started this project, this part of the project with a first run of a focus group today. And we've got two expected results, and these are broad areas. One of them is transition of mining-related suppliers and other businesses to services for the region and for the north. It still might be related to mining, still might be related to resource development, but helping them to transition to a broader regional focus, and not just region as in northern Manitoba, but also the north, meaning Nunavut and other regions. The second is more inward-looking and expanding the retail and services to the region from Thompson. And we got it loud and clear from some of the partners today at the session. That needs to include, in a meaningful way, Aboriginal communities that are in the north. We cannot look at this as a way to set them up as our customers. We need to work with them as partners. And that was extremely good feedback. So our next steps, and again, it's going to look like reiterating the three projects, and I know it's getting late, so I won't go into a lot of detail, but our next steps are heavily focused on Project 1 activities, such as the expansion of the employer survey to identify all job opportunities, and establishing the Northern Workforce Development Center. Of course, we will also be advancing Projects 2 and 3, but we're going to need help in doing those projects. That is a very brief fly-through of Project 2020. If you can go to the last slide, Tammy, I'd appreciate it. Our contact information is there. If you or anyone you know is interested in helping with any one of these projects, please feel free to contact us. And I want to thank you very much for your time and attention. Have a good evening.
So Harold, we realize that you're doing a very, very important job. and we'd like to commend you and your team on the efforts so far, and we wish you all the success. And like we said, that anything that the chamber can do, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thanks. Okay, with that, we come to the end of our session today. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody for attending our small get-together for Small Business Week. And with that, I'd say good evening.